Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, Quad foreign ministers in Tokyo expressed serious concerns over intimidating and dangerous maneuvers in the South China Sea, pledged to bolster maritime security. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says the relationship right now with China is not good, not normal, can improve only if they respect the LAC and agreements.
Are your relations with China? I have to tell you, they are not good, they are not normal right now.
Tensions escalate between Israel and Hezbollah after the Golan Heights strike claims 12 lives. Flights to and from Beirut cancelled or delayed. The Indian Embassy in Lebanon issues advisory. And Venezuela's presidential election results trigger divergent reactions. Blinken, other Western leaders slammed the poll results. Russia and Cuban presidents congratulate Nicolas Maduro. The Quad foreign ministers meeting took place in Tokyo on Monday, where leaders of the four nations discussed and deliberated upon the key global challenges concerning the world, where specific focus remained on the Indo-Pacific region. The leaders expressed serious concerns about the militarization of disputed features and coercive as well as intimidating maneuvers in the South China Sea. They also announced measures ranging from improving domain awareness of Pacific Island nations to their communications and cybersecurity.
Foreign ministers of India, Australia and Japan and the Secretary of State of the United States of America gathered in Tokyo, Japan for the Foreign Ministers' Meet of Quad nations. The leaders reaffirmed their commitment, common principles and capacities to preserve and strengthen the international order for the global good. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar highlighted the major global challenges and the need for the Quad to promote rule-based international order and its ability to ensure that the Indo-Pacific remains free.
Major challenge is to ensure global economic growth while also de-risking it. Supply chains are a particular focus for resilience, just as we push for trusted and transparent digital partnerships. In a sense, we are in the midst of a re-globalization. At the same time, it is only our collective endeavors that can proof the international system against disruptions, man-made or natural. Our meeting should send a clear message that the Quad is here to stay, here to do, and here to grow.
Amid the rising instances of transgressions and intimidation in South China Sea and the Indo-Pacific region, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken stressed upon the need to bolster maritime security and domain awareness to ensure a prosperous and stable Indo-Pacific region.
We are charting a course for a more secure and open Indo-Pacific and Indian Ocean region by bolstering maritime security and domain awareness. In practical terms, what does this mean? It means strengthening the capacity of partners across the region to know what's happening in their own waters.
Meanwhile, the Australian Foreign Minister raised the alarm over long-standing international rules being broken and twisted, calling Quad a central leadership for the stability of the region.
We seek to enable choices in a practical sense by bringing together the advantages, the comparative advantages that these nations before you offer, and offering that practical assistance to meet the region's needs.
After the meeting, the foreign ministers also called on the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, where the ministers briefed him of the key takeaways of their meeting. The Quad Foreign Ministers Meet has laid out an agenda for the upcoming Quad Leaders Summit planned to take place in India this year, where the leaders of the four nations will take on the key challenges and opportunities arising in the rapidly changing geopolitical landscape of the Indo-Pacific region. Akshay Dongre, DD India.
On the Russia-Ukraine conflict, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar reiterated that no solution will emerge from the battlefield and there must be a return to dialogue and diplomacy. Dr. Jaishankar made these remarks while addressing the media in Tokyo after the Quad meeting.
From the very beginning, had the view that use of force does not resolve problems between countries. And in the last 2.5 years, as this conflict has deepened, it has cost lives, it has done economic damage, it has had global consequences. We believe that there must be a return to dialogue and diplomacy. Our feeling today is that, more needs to be done, that we should not resign ourselves to the continuation of the current state of conflict and say, well, let this take its own course.
And talking about India's ties with China, the External Affairs Minister termed India's relations with China as not very good and said relations can be better only if China respects the line of actual control and various agreements.
With China are not doing very well. The main reason for that was that in 2020, during the COVID, China brought very large forces to the border areas between India and China in violation of agreements that we had with China. The consequences of that, because the issue has not been resolved fully, continue. If you ask me how are your relations with China, I have to tell you they are not good, they are not normal right now. But obviously as a neighbor we hope for a better relationship, but that can only happen if they respect the line of actual control and if they respect agreements which they have signed in the past.
Let's also quickly go through what exactly is the Quad, but it's actually a quadrilateral security dialogue. It's an informal strategic forum which was set up in 2007. Many world affairs experts consider it to be an alliance of maritime democracies. It comprises 4 nations, the US, India, Australia and Japan. The primary objective of the Quad is to work for free, open, prosperous and inclusive Indo-Pacific region. It's also a bid to keep strategic sea routes in the Indo-Pacific free of any military or political influence. The core objective is to secure rules-based global order, freedom of navigation and liberal trading systems. The forum also aims to offer alternative debt financing for Indo-Pacific region nations. And US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin on Monday met with his Japanese counterpart Minoru Kihara on the sidelines of the US-Japan Security Consultative Committee, which is also known as a 2+2. Both the leaders agreed to enhance bilateral defense cooperation to deepen coordination with its allies' forces. Plans for a major revamp of US military command in Japan was announced following the 2+2 meeting. The new command structure would be implemented in parallel with Tokyo's own plans to establish a joint command for its forces by March 2025. The overhaul is among several measures taken to address what the country said was an evolving security environment, noting various threats from Japan's neighbor, China.
We are enhancing our ability to deter and respond to destabilizing actions. And today we'll continue to advance key areas for defense cooperation, including alliance strike capabilities, our presence in the Southwest Islands, joint exercises and training, ISR cooperation, and force posture.
And China has reacted sharply to joint statements by the US and Japan. China's foreign ministry said that Quad is falsely accusing China of maritime crimes. During a news briefing in Beijing, Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson described the joint statements as irresponsible and a blatant interference in China's internal affairs. The Japan-US joint statements showed a disregard to the facts, distorted the truth, maliciously attacked China's foreign policy, blatantly interfered in China's internal affairs. They maliciously attacked and discredited China on maritime issues and made irresponsible remarks on China's normal military development and national defense policy. China is strongly dissatisfied with the exaggeration of China's threat and the malicious speculation of regional tension. We'll be examining all these reports in detail a little later on in the show with our expert guest. For the moment, Venezuela's incumbent president Nicolas Maduro has claimed victory in the contest of the Latin American nation's top leadership. Its election body has said Maduro leads the field with 51.2% of the vote, with 80% of the ballots counted. His main rival, Edmundo Gonzalez, has secured 44.02% so far. But both the president's critics and nations such as the United States remain skeptical about the outcome. Here's more.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has won Venezuela's presidential election, according to partial results announced by the Electoral Council.
Al 80%.
Nicolas Maduro Moros of the Gran Polo Patriótico got 5,150,092 votes at 51.20%. Candidate Mundo Gonzalez of the Mesa de la Unidad got 4,445,978 votes at 44.2%.
Maduro addressed cheering supporters outside the Miraflores presidential palace.
Y a Milei le digo, Milei.
This is what I demand as President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Respect for the Constitution, the public authorities, and the sovereign life of Venezuela.
Just after the results, Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, said that opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez has won 70% of the vote.
Mundo González Urrutia obtuvo el 70% de los
Edmundo González Urrutia got 70% of the votes in this election, and Nicolas Maduro received 30% of the votes. This is the truth, and my dear Venezuelans, this is the Venezuelan election with the largest margin of victory in history. Congratulations, Edmundo.
European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, expressed his views on Nicolas Maduro winning a third term in office. On social media platform X, Borrell wrote, "The people of Venezuela voted on the future of their country peacefully and in large numbers. The will must be respected. Ensuring full transparency in the electoral process, including detailed counting of votes and access to voting records at polling stations, is vital." On one hand, Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated Nicolas Maduro on his re-election as president of Venezuela, saying Moscow enjoyed a strategic partnership with the South American state and that Maduro was always welcome in Russia.
You know that Russia consistently supports all legitimate authorities of Venezuela, including the presidential and parliament institutions.
While on the other hand, Germany has called for Venezuela to release detailed election results and ensure the process is fully transparent.
As you know, we recognize states and not governments. But at the moment, the aim is to ensure that the vote count is transparent and that the election results can be analyzed in a detailed manner, including by the opposition, in order to determine who is the real election winner.
Voters have also expressed their disappointment at the verdict.
It is very sad, the election result.
The call for transparency and accountability remains a central theme as Venezuela navigates this contentious electoral aftermath, and the coming days will be crucial in determining which way Venezuela will move. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour, at least 8 people stabbed in Southport in the UK. Prime Minister Keir Starmer calls it deeply shocking news. Flights at Beirut Rafiq Hariri International Airport cancelled or delayed amid fears of an Israeli strike.
This summer, the world turns its eyes to Paris, and DD India brings you every heartbeat, every victory, and every story. Introducing our special coverage of the Paris Olympics. Experience the passion, the drama, and the triumphs. With exclusive reports, expert analysis, and up-to-the-minute updates. Join us as we bring the spirit of the Olympics to your screens.
Get ready for the ultimate sporting extravaganza on DD India.
DD India presents Champions Day Paris. Only on DD India. Every day at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, British Emergency Services said a man had been arrested after at least 8 people were stabbed in Southport, northwest England on Monday, with the local children's hospital declaring a major incident and the Prime Minister calling it deeply shocking. Northwest Ambulance Service said it had treated 8 patients with stab injuries who had been taken to 3 different hospitals, including Alderhay Children's Hospital. Merseyside Police said armed police had arrested a man and seized a knife after being called to reports of a stabbing at around 10:50 GMT. There was no wider threat to the public, they added. British Interior Minister Yvette Cooper informed the Parliament about the incident.
I want to simply say that I know the whole House will be very concerned at the extremely serious incident that has taken place in Southport. All of our thoughts will be with the family and loved ones of those who are affected. I have been in contact with the Merseyside Police and Crime Commissioner and the Merseyside Mayor to convey my support to the police and our thanks to the police and emergency services for their swift and courageous response. The response to this awful incident is currently unfolding, and the House and the public will be updated in due course.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer called it a deeply shocking news. He wrote on X, and I quote, "Horrendous and deeply shocking news emerging from Southport. My thoughts are with all those affected. I would like to thank the police and emergency services for their swift response and being kept updated as the situation develops." And DD India's Stuart Smith joins us for more on this from London. Good evening, Stuart. Now, what's the latest that you're hearing about the condition of the victims? Are all of them children?
Stabbings, and that number hasn't changed since when this news first broke around midday here in the UK, about 5 hours ago. And authorities have been careful to describe these victims as people. They haven't made any claims about the age of those stabbed, but there are 2 pieces of information that suggest that it was at least some of these people were children. One is that eyewitness testimony talks about parents of children and attending an event being traumatized by what happened, and people reporting seeing stab wounds in the backs of children. The other is that many of these patients were taken to a children's hospital nearby, 3 hospitals in total though taking patients, with this being declared a major incident and local hospitals having to ask people not to attend with their own incidents unless they are very serious. The hospital services said that when they arrived on the scene, they did have to provide advanced emergency care where the incident took place, and one local councillor seems to have been the first to suggest that at least one of the people has died, and that councillor confirming that that was a child.
That's really sad to know. Now, is anything else known about why this happened? Who's the person who carried it out? You know, these stabbings, and is it being seen as an act of terrorism?
Yeah, it's not being classed by any authority here in the UK as a terrorism investigation. Perhaps it will later, but not yet, because no motivations or intentions of the attacker have been published, and authorities are at pains, the ambulance, police, politicians, to call on people not to speculate as to the motivations. We know that the male detained, and it was just one man detained, was carrying a knife, and he was accosted by armed police when news broke that this attack was taking place. They were very quick to say this was an isolated incident and that there was no greater threat to the public. One local journalist has suggested where this incident took place was a Taylor Swift themed yoga and dance workshop for kids of age 6 to 10, and one of the staff members who claims to have worked at that centre suggests that the stabbings did take place there, saying that her heart goes out to the class leaders and children affected in this incident. It's the school holidays here in England, so children out at recreational centres to do something other than learning. They've only just begun this week, but the testimony coming out of those who saw what happened and saw the aftermath is very sad and very shocking.
Yeah, extremely disturbing, and let's hope we get to the bottom of what really has happened and why. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Stuart Smith from London. Now, tensions are rising between Israel and Hezbollah following a deadly strike in the Golan Heights last week. Hezbollah has denied responsibility and the conflict has led to flight disruptions in Beirut. Palestinians are evacuating central Gaza due to Israeli military orders, while Turkey's President Erdogan hints at potential intervention. All West Asia conflict in this report. Take a look.
Tensions have escalated between Israel and the armed political group Hezbollah following a strike in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights that killed 12 people last week. The conflict in West Asia appears to be expanding as Israel prepares for retaliation against the Lebanon-based banned organization Hezbollah. Israeli officials have emphasized that they do not wish to draw the region into a broader conflict but are focused on targeting Hezbollah specifically. Hezbollah has denied responsibility for the attack on the Golan Heights, which is the deadliest in Israel or Israeli-occupied territory since Hamas's 7th October assault sparked the conflict in Gaza. Hezbollah is on high alert and has cleared some key sites in both southern Lebanon and the eastern Bekaa Valley in anticipation of a potential Israeli attack. As tensions escalate, some flights at Lebanon's Beirut airport have been cancelled or delayed. Lebanon's Middle East Airlines has cited insurance risks as the reason for disruptions to its schedule. Lufthansa, Turkish Airlines, Greek Airlines and the Ethiopian Airlines have also cancelled their flights to Beirut scheduled for Monday. Due to rising tensions in West Asia, the Indian Embassy in Lebanon has issued an advisory for Indians residing in the country amid growing fears of a full-scale war between Israel and Lebanon-based Hezbollah group. Meanwhile, Palestinians continue to bear the brunt of the Gaza conflict with orders from the Israeli military to vacate central Gaza. Residents have been instructed to leave immediately for their safety and to move to a humanitarian zone in Al-Mawasi.
There's also an evacuation in Khan Yunis. Israelis are in Rafah. Israelis are in the north and the center. Here they want to enter it, an incursion into the camp. What is left? Every place is full of people, all of Gaza. Where should people go? Give us a solution. You are just sitting there quietly. All you do is clap for Netanyahu. Clap all you want.
Meanwhile, Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan has suggested the possibility of the country intervening in Israel similar to its previous actions in Libya and Nagorno-Karabakh. Erdogan made these comments during a speech praising his country's defense industry, but did not provide specific details about the nature of the intervention. His remarks follow his previous calls for the Islamic world to take action against Israel. In 2020, Turkey sent military personnel to Libya to support the United Nations recognized government of national accord. Hamas said in a statement that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had added new conditions and demands to a US ceasefire proposal. The group said the Israeli ceasefire response showed that Netanyahu was stalling to avoid reaching an agreement. Bureau Report, DD India.
Elsewhere, European shares started the week positively, boosted by the oil sector and strong earnings updates. The Stock 600 index rose 0.4% as of 7:13 GMT on Monday, following last week's slight gains. Oil and gas stocks led with a 1.3% increase due to higher crude prices after a rocket attack in the Golan Heights. In Frankfurt, the DAX climbed 0.7% to 18,538 points. Analyst Tim Oshner noted that investors are focused on this week's US Federal Reserve meeting, with over 90% expecting no rate changes. On Monday, US President Joe Biden proposed significant reforms to the US Supreme Court, including instituting term limits and a binding code of conduct for its 9 justices. However, with Congress deeply divided, the proposal faced slim prospects of enactment. Plus, Biden called for a constitutional amendment to address the broad presidential immunity recognized in the 1st of July Supreme Court ruling involving former President Donald Trump. Vagaries of the weather in terms of flooding and extreme heat are ravaging parts of the planet, calling for an urgent need for sustainable development. The next report tells us how the day panned out in terms of weather, floods and heat waves, and how people are coping with such events worldwide.
Unprecedented weather events are being witnessed across the globe, from scorching heat to raging wildfires, to heavy rainfall to deadly floods. In central Japan's Shizuoka prefecture, temperatures have topped 40 degrees Celsius on Monday morning, triggering heat stroke alerts across the region. The sweltering heat is affecting daily life, prompting officials to urge residents to stay cool and hydrated. In the United States, a catastrophic wildfire has made headlines. Northern California is battling the largest wildfire in US history. The park fire has burned through over 360,000 acres. As of the latest reports, the fire is just 12% contained. Evacuation orders are in effect for multiple communities across several counties. In Canada, wildfires have ravaged a popular tourist town, leaving destruction in their wake. Meanwhile, in China, tropical storm Gaimi is causing severe flooding. In Hunan province, record high rainfall from tropical storm Gaimi has led to extensive flooding. The provincial capital, Changsha, has issued a red alert for heavy rainfall and elevated its flood response level. Authorities are on high alert as they manage the floodwaters and assist those affected. In Iceland, a glacial flood has submerged roads in the south. A massive glacial flood has covered a large area with muddy water affecting roadways and uninhabited land. Authorities are monitoring the situation closely as the floodwaters continue to spread. With bureau inputs, Shagnik Chakraborty for DD India.
The Southern Command of the Indian Army has launched a flood relief and rescue operation in the state of Maharashtra. Hundreds of people have been evacuated so far. DD India's Yogesh Kumar Sheetal gets us more.
India is battling monsoon mayhem. From Mumbai to Gujarat, rainfall has wreaked havoc everywhere. The Meteorological Department has issued a red alert for heavy rainfall. The western state of Gujarat and central Madhya Pradesh are bracing for heavy rainfall. The alert warns of potential flooding and disruption in these regions.
Pune, Satara, Sangli and Kolhapur have been grappling with flood crisis over the last few weeks because of incessant rains in the western region of Maharashtra. Not only the 5th Battalion of NDRF, at the same time, the Southern Command of Indian Army, which is located in Pune, have also stepped in, and the officers from infantry, engineering department, technical departments, all the officers apart from 100 forces are also on their toes in Sangli to carry out rescue and relief operation.
In the Indian state of Maharashtra, the Southern Command of the Indian Army has launched Operation Rahat in Sangli, which is severely affected due to incessant rains and flooding. The army commenced flood relief and rescue operations just 2 days back, and since then, hundreds of locals have been evacuated from the flood-hit areas. The team comprises 100 personnel, including officers from the infantry and engineer regiments of the Southern Command. They're equipped with boats, safety gears, life jackets, communication devices and other equipments. During the 2019 floods in Sangli, Satara and Kolhapur districts, the Southern Command undertook Operation Madad for rescue and relief.
Our columns were already on the standby mode. We had immediately got mobilized from Ond military station Pune, which is around 250 kilometers from this place.
It was a big relief for these locals who were rescued. As the Indian Army is leaving no stone unturned to rescue the stranded people, they're extending gratitude in their own way, some with a cup of tea, while some with a smile. The work of Army here is not just limited to rescue. They have also set up multiple health camps to treat people and are distributing medicines. The global weather situation continues to be both severe and widespread and calls for urgent global action to address such challenges. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now let's take a look at some other stories making news around the world. In response to the violence that claimed 150 lives during the recent quota reform protests in Bangladesh, the country's government has announced a day of national mourning on Tuesday. The decision, made during a cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, will see the nation honouring those who lost their lives in the unrest. At least 140 people have been injured in southern Russia on Monday when a train carrying 800 passengers collided with a truck, derailing 9 carriages. Russia's emergency ministry said fire and rescue workers were carrying out evacuations. Junior doctors in England have reached an improved pay deal with the UK government for about 22.3% pay rise over the next 2 years. The British Medical Association, which represents around 50,000 junior doctors, has been seeking a 35% pay rise and have staged a series of strikes since early 2023. Divers in Poland have found a 19th century shipwreck off the coast of Sweden, laden with bottles of champagne. They discovered the wreck, which also contains porcelain and bottles of mineral water, in the Baltic Sea. And still to come on DD India News Hour. A discussion with an expert on Quad foreign ministers expressing serious concern over the situation in East and South China Seas. Germany says it will not be intimidated by Russian President Putin's missile crisis warning.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Berlin has said that they will not be intimidated by Russian President Vladimir Putin's warning of a Cold War-style missile crisis. Putin on Sunday warned that if Washington deployed long-range missiles in Germany, then Russia would station similar missiles within striking distance of the West. Earlier, the United States had said that it would start deploying long-range missiles in Germany from 2026 in preparation for a longer-term deployment that will include Tomahawk cruise missiles and developmental hypersonic weapons. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the northeastern Kharkiv region near the Russian border, where Moscow's forces have been trying to break through. Although Russia's attacks in the eastern Donetsk region remain Moscow's main offensive thrust, the assault into Kharkiv region has stretched Ukraine's outmanned defenders and forced Kyiv to send in reinforcements. Kyiv is now pressing its allies to lift restrictions, preventing it from using Western weapons for strikes deep inside Russia on targets such as military airfields. Telecom lines in parts of France were attacked overnight, just days after the French high-speed rail network was sabotaged on Friday. France's junior minister for digital matters, Marina Ferrari, said that the attacks had disrupted some fixed and mobile services and that work is underway to get services back up and running. French media report that police sources say it's too early to tell if there is any link to the rail sabotage, which caused travel chaos hours before the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympic Games. And now let's go back to one of our top stories. The Quad foreign ministers meeting in Tokyo has produced one of the strongest joint statements issued by the forum, comprising India, the US, Japan and Australia, where acts of intimidation using military means is concerned in the East and South China Seas. Follow-up steps have also been announced which will help safeguard the freedom of navigation in international waters and promote peace in the region. Let's talk about it with our expert guest, Professor Harshvardhan Pant, Vice President, Observer Research Foundation. Good evening to you. Dr. Pant, what do you make of the kind of statement that the Quad foreign ministers have issued and the steps that they've announced which will ensure that the freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific region is kept safe?
I think, Gautam, it underscores the commitment on the part of the four countries of the Quad to continue to use their weight, political, diplomatic, and increasingly security weight in the region to emerge, to make Quad emerge as the single most important platform in the region, almost as a guarantor of regional peace and stability. And I think the message going out is very clear that unless these four countries start working more cohesively together, it is very unlikely that any other actor will be able to prevent China in particular from being the aggressive country that it has become, particularly in East and South China Seas. And I think the fact that global trade, global commerce, and freedom of navigation have to be the fundamental principles embedded in a free and open Indo-Pacific. The statement underscores the commitment of the four countries to uphold that fundamental value. So I think the four countries seem more united than ever and more forceful than ever in articulating the need to make Quad this very key and central platform in the Indo-Pacific.
And doesn't it go beyond these four countries? Isn't it now like a Quad plus?
Yes, I think that the intent is that as Quad becomes stronger and more vocal, more countries that are dissatisfied with the status quo, that are dissatisfied with what China is doing, they will be joining this platform as Quad Plus members. So I think a coalition of like-minded countries, which already even Quad is going to expand into more countries that would be willing to partner with Quad increasingly, because clearly now there is a demarcating line. Those countries that want to uphold the existing order and those and one particular nation that wants to challenge it. So I think that is a marker that Quad is now drawing, and I think increasingly you will see the attempt by other countries also to become an integral part of this mechanism, not Quad per se, but Quad plus, as you mentioned, something to be thought about, something to be articulated, and something to be operationalized on the ground as well.
And let's talk about the nature of the steps that have been announced as well, whereas on one hand you have steps that will enhance domain awareness of not just the Quad countries in the region but other countries as well, such as the Philippines, and then for Palau as well, the kind of measures that will improve its communication capabilities, that is also there. And even in the sphere of cyber security, steps again will be taken to help other countries which are outside the Quad to combat the kind of threats that come their way.
Yes, see, the message is very clear that Quad is not here to contain anyone. Quad is here to allow countries, sovereign countries, to do their best and to ensure that they continue to pursue their interests in a manner that is free and open. And I think that is fundamental. That's the kind of fundamental value that Quad brings to the table, Quad members bring to the table. And I think what they are trying to make a case is that Quad countries are going to be a more credible partner, because they are not interested in anything for themselves. But what they are interested in, is a global provision of regional peace and stability, and capacity of the countries concerned, that those countries that are on the receiving end of some of the things that China perhaps is doing, their capacities, their capabilities can be enhanced, so that those countries themselves are, they can take on some of the more nefarious designs of China. So I think capacity building is inherent in what they are trying to do, whether it is in the case of Philippines or Palau, or in the case of other actors as well, where as a credible alternative, what Quad members can do is now a very striking feature of Quad increasingly. And I think that's where the differentiation lies when it comes to Quad versus China. That is where the differentiation is deliberately being made, that Quad is not here to pursue a parochial agenda. Quad is here to pursue a governance agenda, a regional governance agenda, and the provision of global public goods or regional public goods, where Indo-Pacific countries are free and sovereign actors to decide for themselves what they want to do. And I think that's what comes out most categorically in the measures that they've taken vis-a-vis individual countries.
And although China has not been named at all by the leaders themselves when they were together, Minister Jaishankar did mention China separately when he was briefing the media. But let's also talk about how other steps have been taken, such as the 2+2 that the US and Japan had, where certain major changes have been put into sort of the pipeline, which will again lead to a certain strengthening of the response to the kind of incidents that we're seeing in those waters?
So yes, so what seems to be happening now for a while, Gautam, is that you have a Quad in place. So you have a matrix is being created where a number of these initiatives, a number of these platforms, a number of these plurilaterals and minilaterals are coming together to ensure that there is, that there is a spectrum of institutional frameworks available for countries to pick and choose. There are trilaterals, there is the Quad, there are other platforms that are emerging, and also it's strengthening of bilateral relationships. So what you were mentioning between US and Japan, what they have done is they have strengthened the core of their alliance framework. They have taken their alliance framework to a new level where increasingly Japan would be able to do with US some things that it was not doing in the past. So I think we are looking at a region where countries, because of their history, because of their value systems, were reluctant to take on some of the challenges. Now I think we are seeing countries like Japan not only taking decisions to change their own internal domestic policy legislation, but also willing to change the nature of their relationships with other countries like the US and also with India. India-Japan relationship is evolving. India-Australia relationship is evolving. India-US relationship is evolving. So you have at the core these bilateral relationships. They go and then become trilateral relationships. And of course, Quad sits at the heart of these relationships as well. So you have now a melange of these initiatives that are feeding into how regional states, particularly those most vulnerable to Chinese aggression, look at some of these frameworks as almost a defensive mechanism, as a deterrence mechanism to ensure that peace and stability is maintained.
Yes, and Secretaries Austin and Blinken are also heading to the Philippines next. Now, let's see what happens over there. Thanks for joining us for the moment, Professor Pant. Now, the budget session of the Indian Parliament is currently underway in the national capital. Monday also witnessed discussions on the union budget presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in both the houses of Parliament. Before the budget discussion, the Rajya Sabha or the upper house also slotted a small window to discuss the tragic death of 3 UPSC students in Delhi. Here's a full report by DD India's Dibendu Mundal.
The Parliament reconvened on Monday for the ongoing discussion on the Union Budget 2024. Both the Houses of Parliament took up the budget discussion post 1 p.m. Leaders from both the Treasury and opposition benches presented their opinions and points on the floor of the House. The leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, also spoke in the lower house of Parliament on the Union Budget on Monday, while Union Minister Anupriya Patel also spoke on the budget. On the other hand, India's upper house of Parliament took up and allotted a time to discuss the tragic death of 3 students in Delhi due to flooding, after 5 members moved an adjournment motion to discuss the pressing issue of students' welfare. Upper House Chairman and Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankar, also commented on the mushrooming of coaching centers in Delhi.
I find that youth demographic dividend of the country has to be nurtured. I further find that coaching has become virtually commerce. Every time we read a newspaper, front 1 or 2 pages are by way of advertisements.
Discussion on the Union Budget will continue in Parliament till 12th August in this session of Parliament. Both the houses have allotted 20 hours each for the discussion on the Union Budget. Dibendu Mondol's report for DD India.
Now, following the tragic death of 3 civil services aspirants due to flooding in their coaching centre's basement after heavy rains in New Delhi, India's Ministry of Home Affairs has established a committee to investigate the incident. The committee will examine the causes of the flooding, determine accountability, propose preventive measures and recommend policy changes. It will submit its report in 30 days. In a show of solidarity with the people of Haiti, India has sent humanitarian assistance containing 9 tons of medical supplies to the Caribbean nation as it faces humanitarian crisis due to political instability. The supplies left New Delhi early morning on Monday for Port-au-Prince. The Caribbean nation has been witnessing unprecedented levels of political instability and gang violence, which has left thousands of people dead, and an evolving humanitarian crisis as the people of Haiti struggle to get basic necessities. To aid the fellow nation of the Global South, India has sent a consignment including blood transfusion essentials, regions of immunohematology, rapid tests and ELISA, among others. The life-saving medical supplies are likely to provide a massive respite to the collapsing healthcare infrastructure of the Caribbean nation and save lives. And still to come in DD India News Hour. The Indian hockey team keep their quarterfinals hopes alive at the Paris Olympics, drawing their Pool B match against Argentina. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Time now to take some sporting updates. Well, pollution in Paris's river Seine has again forced the cancellation of Olympic triathlon training events, raising doubts over whether the competition will take place as planned on the 30th and the 31st of this month. DD India's Ross Cullen reports.
Well, unfortunately for the Paris 2024 organisers, the water quality in the River Seine remains unsafe for competition, despite the fact that they have invested $1.5 billion in a new wastewater and sewage system just further down the river. They have really tried to put in place all sorts of measures to make sure that the water for the open water events due to take place in the river is safe enough for Olympic athletes, and there were some positive results earlier in the month after we have had many months of problems with the river quality. The mayor of Paris took a dip inside the river. The sports minister also went in for a swim, and we did have some more positive results in terms of low bacteria levels. However, 36 hours of rain on Friday for the opening ceremony and also on Saturday have meant that all of that good work has now gone to waste, because the water levels in the river when it comes to the quality are back high again. We now have high levels of bacteria, we have unsafe levels in terms of competition. What does this mean for the Olympics? Well, the triathlon training event on Sunday cancelled. The triathlon training event on Monday today cancelled. It does also mean it puts in doubt the start of the actual triathlon competition tomorrow, Tuesday. There are some reserve days on the 1st and 2nd of August that could be used. However, if the water quality remains dangerous throughout the rest of this week, and including on the reserve days, we could have an Olympic triathlon that becomes a duathlon, with only the cycling and the running legs taking place and the swimming leg being cancelled. Ross Cullen in Paris reporting for DD India.
Now, India's duo of Manu Bhaker and Sarabjot are eyeing an Olympic medal, as they are all set to represent India in the bronze medal match of the 10-meter air pistol mixed team event. Our next report gets you more details.
Medal account at the ongoing Paris Olympics was opened by Indian shooter Manu Bhaker, who bagged a bronze medal in 10-meter air pistol event. And now, confident Manu has once again placed herself in contention for a second Olympic medal, as she combined with Sarabjot Singh to make the bronze medal playoff in 10-meter air pistol mixed team event. Manu Bhaker and Sarabjot Singh finished with a total of 580 to make it to the medal round, which is to be held on 30th of July. Let's now take a look at their journey so far. Manu, who hails from Haryana, started her journey at the age of 14, while Sarabjot, who hails from Ambala, keenly got involved in the sport in the year 2014. Manu's first great achievement came in 2017 when she stunned Hina Sidhu at National Shooting Championship, while Sarabjot got his first gold in 2019 at Junior World Championship. Manu has been unstoppable since then as she added an Olympic medal to her name, becoming the first female ever to bag a bronze in 10-meter air pistol event in Olympics, whereas Sarabjot is eyeing to script history alongside Manu, who added 2 medals to his kitty in 2022 edition of Asian Games. Now both Manu and Sarabjit are getting financial assistance from the government under Target Olympic Podium Scheme or the TOP scheme and are confident of bagging glory for the country at the prestigious event. Sports Desk, DD India.
Arjun Baboota came agonizingly close to a podium finish in 10-meter men's air rifle final but had to settle for a 4th place finish with 208.4 points on Monday. Baboota looked good for a top 3 finish for the most part, but a 9.5 on the final shot saw him come up short. He became the 2nd Indian shooter to miss out on a medal today. The 25-year-old Baboota started with a 10.7 to take charge of the final early. He scored 105.0 from his first 10 shots and was 3rd. India's Ramita Jindal bowed out from the medal contention at the ongoing Paris Olympics. Ramita was competing in the 10-meter air rifle event. Ramita Jindal ended 7th in the final of the 10-meter air rifle women's competition. Ramita shot 145.3 in a high-quality 8 women's final. India's captain Harpreet Singh's late goal saw India clinch a 1-1 draw against Argentina in a Paris Olympics Pool B hockey match. India trailed till the 58th minute before the Indian captain struck from a penalty corner. Lucas Martinez scored the opener for Argentina in the 22nd minute. India remain in the 3rd spot. India will have to finish in the top 4 to enter the quarter-finals in their pool. Let's now take you straight across to Paris. DD India's Narayan Singh's been reported from there. Narayan, a bit of a disappointing day today at the Paris Olympic Games, isn't it?
Gautam, if we take a look, that we can see that there were few hits and misses, and it's called a mixed day for India, considering the fact that Manu Bhaker along with Sarabjot booked her berth for the medal round, and tomorrow they will play for the bronze, and we can expect a 2nd medal from shooting here at the Châteauroux shooting range in Paris. And but there were, we can say, the disappointment in other events, especially in the 10-meter air rifle event where Ramita finished 7th. It was one of the best competitive match in the Olympic history, the way all the shooters were going neck to neck, and one point of time it was looking like that Ramita will be there, but initially she scored good, but towards the end she missed few crucial points. And if we talk about another match where Arjun Baboota missed a medal by a whisker, so all in all we can say that we have a talented pool of shooters, but we know that Olympic is always a pressure game and a different game. They are very young. The average age of our shooters, which is a 21-member contingent, is around 22. So we can say that they were talented, but definitely they were missing the medals by a whisker. They will take some learning curves from here, and we know that after Abhinav Bindra and Joydeep Karmakar, today Arjun Baboota just we can say that dealt with the pain of finishing 4th in 2016 Rio Olympics, where Abhinav Bindra finished 4th, and in the past Joydeep Karmakar also finished 4th. But it's a learning curve, and last time in the Tokyo Olympics we saw it was a disastrous campaign for our shooters. Everyone was hoping that in Tokyo Olympics our shooters will get medals for India, but we know that after that it was, we can say, Manu Bhaker also was hit rock bottom at that time, but again she rose and came up with flying colors here at the Paris Olympics, and we are hoping that our shooters who are missing by whisker definitely learn tricks from here, because Olympic is a different ball game altogether.
Certainly. And what would you say about the Indian hockey team? Is it living dangerously, or considering that they're in the group of death, they are doing well to keep their head above the water?
Definitely a tough journey for the Indian hockey team here ahead, but in the first 2 matches, first against Argentina and New Zealand, and now today against Argentina, they trailed, and somehow their captain came to the rescue towards the penultimate minute, and definitely they'll have to just improve themselves. As the captain Harmanpreet Singh also said that improvement is required from the Indian team, because after that they will play Ireland, and Belgium is there, Australia is there, and we know that the Belgium is one of the best team in the world right now. They dominated the world hockey from 2018 to 2022, winning the Olympic gold medal, World Cup, European Championship, and the Hockey Pro League title. Everything they won between this period, and definitely in the Tokyo Olympics also they defeated India in the semi-finals also. So it will need some Herculean effort from the Indian squad to be there if they want to progress ahead in the tournament. Even if they finish third or fourth, they will get a difficult team when they will go to the quarterfinals. So here they can we can say that they have to do everything to be there in the top two, so that in the quarterfinals of the tournament they get an easy draw, because we know that the teams like Belgium, Australia, Spain, Germany, the kind of hockey they are playing right now, we need to be at our best.
All right. Well, we have to leave it there. Narayan, thanks a lot for joining us to give us an update. Hopefully we'll have a better day at the Paris Olympics tomorrow. That is Tuesday. Thanks. Now, here's a story of an Olympic superfan, Vivian Robinson, who's attending the sporting extravaganza for the 7th time in Paris. The Olympics bug bit the 66-year-old in Los Angeles in 1984, where her mother was a volunteer, and she's still hooked. After Los Angeles, she watched the mega sports events at Atlanta, Sydney, Athens, Rio, and London. In Paris, when she's not watching the sports, she walks on the Champs-Élysées Avenue in a patchwork Olympics tracksuit, which took a year to create. Wearing a bucket hat with Eiffel Tower figurines and waving flags from different host countries, she greets Olympic volunteers and tourists. That's it for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For all those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.